What's up? What's up? What's up? What is happening, Steeler Nation? What's going on, guys? Happy Tuesday evening. And welcome to the latest episode of Terrible Towel Tuesday. I am your host, SimFBallCritic, live from the Steel Basement, aka the virtual Heinz Field. What's happening? Hope everyone is well. I hope you guys are off to a great week. Not a whole lot to talk about tonight, so y'all already know what I'm going to do, right? Boom. We starting the timer early. Actually, let me move it over a little bit. It's a little off-centered. You know, I got OCD when it comes to trying to get things right. And no disrespect to anyone who actually has OCD. But yeah, what's happening? How's everybody doing? So first and foremost, man, let me say hello to the early commenters. We'll get that out of the way. And I'm not saying that like I'm dismissing you guys. Hello to Mr. Winningham. Good sir, Mr. Winningham is first. Hello, how you doing tonight, sir? Charlie Brown, Tony Barnes. Hello, Miss Lanisha. How you doing tonight, Miss Lanisha? Appreciate you coming through faithfully. We always appreciate you. Jeremy Johnson, Brian Williams, my good brother, Wide Diggy in the building. Cutboy 412, Jack Bauer. Lance the Shield, Pittsburgh. Oh, it's an interesting name there, Pittsburgh. I like that. Little play on words there. Sippy Boy 302, Patrick Covington Jr. What's going on, Pat? How you doing? Still a Nation 412, Jared Devil, the real Missy 868. Hello, Miss Lady. Thank you for coming and hanging out with us, along with Miss Lanisha. So we always appreciate the lovely ladies of the chat. And who else we got? Vista Light, and I guess we'll end it right there. Oh, Patrick Knox. Sorry about that. I missed Patrick Knox. What's going on, folks? How's everybody doing? So listen, the only thing I really got on the agenda tonight is two topics. Why is this thing so bright, man? What's going on? I gotta fix the white balance on this. It's a little too bright. But how's everybody doing, man? Hope everybody's great. Only two things I really have on the agenda is Kevin Colbert talked to the media. We'll talk about that. And, you know, this news that continues, this seems like it's picking up steam. Jimmy Garoppolo being traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers. So that's really all we're going to talk about. Don't have much more to give. Again, guys, this is a slow time. You guys understand that. It's a slow news week. Nothing really has changed. Combine is happening, obviously, so maybe we'll have some things to report in regards to the Combine. Other than that, and hold on, guys, this is really bothering me. I told y'all, man, when it comes to things being right or the way I see them in my eyes, I got OCD with that kind of stuff. So let me see. Maybe I have to adjust the temperature here. Oh, this light. Hold on. We'll get it straight. Get it right. Get it tight. I don't know. It's bugging on me. Let me see what happens when I cut on the strip light. It gave me a little more balance there, but I'm going to have to work on that. But anyway, so let's talk about that. Like I said, the Combine is happening, so maybe we'll have some news, you know, some reports of who the Steelers may or may not like, who they met with, things like that. So we'll have that conversation. Free agency is coming up, so, you know, a couple weeks, if I'm not mistaken. And you guys, you know, keep me honest with the date. When is it? What is it? The 16th? What date is it? Somewhere around there, right? So some of you guys keep me honest with the date, but at that point, we'll know. You know, we have the quote-unquote untampering period, you know, the couple days before it actually starts, where you start hearing about contracts or signings that are going to happen. So there you have it. And again, man, this whole quarterback thing, you know, we got to keep our eyes on some of these free agents. You know, we keep hearing about Mitch Trubisky as well. Teddy Bridgewater is a name that's creeping up now as well. So let's keep an eye on that, because like I said, free agency, I think, is really going to allow us, and you can say this pretty much every season, but, you know, to keep it current, this is really going to tell us where the Steelers are going. This is really going to tell us what they're thinking, what their thought process is, what areas they may attack in the draft. post free agency. Because again, depending on who we grab in free agency, we get a backup or another guy that we think can play inside linebacker, that might take that position off the board at least early. Cornerback is the same. Quarterback, I think if they get a free agent, I don't think they draft the guy. They might, because again, right now there's only technically 2 guys on the roster, and one is pending. Dwayne Haskins is pending because they have to put the tender on him. But technically, the only one under contract is Rudolph. So you could see a free agent veteran as a security blanket and a draft guy. But I actually think I more so feel like if they get a free agent quarterback, I don't know if they draft a QB in this one. I think they would use Mason Rudolph as their competitive guy or the competition guy, and they tender Dwayne Haskins, and there you have it. I don't think they go quarterback this year if they get one of these, hinge or fringe guys in free agency. Just my thoughts. But let's get into this Jimmy G thing. Let's talk about that first, and then we'll round everything out with Kevin Colbert, and then, I will open it a little, a few moments or what have you for phone calls, and then we'll be out of here. Like I said, I think this will be a relatively short show. Jameis Winston, too. Let's not forget him. That's another one. However, Jameis is coming off of the injury. I did see a video of him running the other day, but again, now we're getting into the semantics of what is considered mobile when Tomlin says mobile, and that is a question. I wish someone could get that out of him and where he could say what he considers when he says mobile. Is he just talking about a guy that can move, or is he talking about a guy that can run? Okay. The instant examples, of course, guys, would be, is he talking about Lamar Jackson or Russell Wilson or Josh Allen or Justin Herbert? What type of mobile is he talking about? And that is the question. I don't think he's defined that. Now, if you wanted to peek behind the curtain a little bit and you want to use your third eye and try to use your speculation, and an educated guess, perhaps Tomlin is talking about, and he's referencing guys that we faced this season. Maybe that gives us an idea. I don't know. Maybe not. And of course, he looks at the entire NFL, but I wonder if that's any indication where he's talking about it. Is he, referencing guys that he recently faced? We don't know. But that is going to be the $1 million question, because again, you talk about a guy like Jimmy G. Do you guys consider him mobile? What does that mean? Mitch Trubisky is, I would say, is mobile because he can run. Again, he's not a Lamar Jackson, but he's a guy that can run and get out of the pocket and perhaps, be able to run enough to run, Matt Canada's RPO system. Marcus Mariota, obviously, he's another guy that can run. At one time, he would take off and run. You know what I mean? So, out of all of these guys, man, I don't know. I really don't know. It's going to be very interesting. Teddy Bridgewater. Again, Teddy Bridgewater is not a runner, but he is mobile. He can move in the pocket. We saw it when we played him. So maybe that's mobile enough. And actually, honestly, guys, I wouldn't be mad at a Teddy Bridgewater type as far as how he can move in the pocket versus a clear runner. Because the only guy, in my opinion, that feels like a straight up runner, if we talk about free agency or draft, that would make me, perk up a little bit is the potential of a Malik Willis, right? Or, honestly, it's not my preference, but even Sam Howell takes off and runs, and he's kind of like I told Kenyon this when I scouted Howell, nowhere near a real comparison, I'm saying, when I say this, but Howell is like a small guy that tries to run like Josh Allen. And what I'm saying is Howell runs with, like, he's a power type runner, takes on contact and stuff like that and lowers his shoulder. Like he runs as if he's as big as Josh Allen. Whereas Malik Willis is just going to finesse you. That's a finesse runner. That's your Michael Vick style type of runner. You know what I'm saying? So honestly, if we're looking at that, And if we're going to take a shot on a guy that's a pure runner, I would rather it be a guy like Malik Willis if he's at the right spot. I'm not talking about moving up necessarily, but if he falls in your lap and that's the type of mobile that Tomlin is talking about, I'm cool with that. But let's get back to the question, and I'm going to come to you guys in the chat. How do we really feel about Jimmy G in this regard? Compare him to what we currently have on the roster. Is Jimmy G an upgrade over Mason Rudolph and Haskins? Is Jimmy G an upgrade or a better option than a Mariota or a Trubisky? That would be my question. Or even say a Carson Wentz. Some of these guys that might be available, right? So if we're talking about a trade and a realistic trade, I'm not talking Aaron Rodgers, I'm not talking about Russell Wilson. Is Jimmy G a better option than any of those guys I just mentioned? Again, on our current roster, Mason Rudolph, Haskins. If we're looking outside as far as, expected free agents, Winston, Mariota, Trubisky. Let's just go with those guys. Now, after you answer that question, here's the next question I have for you guys. And again, I think we talked about this last week. And, some of these topics are going to be repetitive right now when it's a slow news cycle, right? Is the cap hit worth it? If one of you guys can do that work for me, if one of you guys can pull up Jimmy G's expected cap hit for next season, I think it's, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's 20 plus. Is that cap hit worth it? Because if we trade for him, then I'm pretty sure, of course, we all know you got to take on that salary. Now, would you try to reconstruct it? Sure. But that is the question. That is the question. And I'm going to come to the chat. I want to see what you guys have to say because, let me give you my thoughts first and then I'll go to the chat because I don't want to make it seem like I'm, mooching off of you guys' responses. My thing would be, no. I don't think he's worth it, in my opinion. Not saying that he's not worth it in terms of the player. Because, again, I think if you put Jimmy G in the right situation, I think he could be a bridge gap guy that can have some success. I mean, he's had some success in San Francisco, right? Is he the best quarterback in the world? No, nobody's saying that. But we're not going to sit here and act like the guy hasn't had success. And if he's in the right situation, that he can't be successful. We're not talking about him as being the super duper franchise guy. So obviously I'm not judging him on that scale. I'm just talking about bridge gap, guys, because any quarterback that ends up starting for the Pittsburgh Steelers this season, I'm not assuming that any of these dudes are the heir apparent. Just not. They're just the guy that's playing quarterback for us right now and starting the cycle of finding the next franchise guy. But even with me giving Jimmy G credit, I just don't think Garoppolo, I don't want to get back into a cap situation via trade. Even though the trade that was rumored out there is not that bad of an option and has something to do with a 4th round pick and I think maybe another 4th and another, that's not bad. If the Steelers feel like that's the guy, that's not too much to give up for a starting capable quarterback. That's not too much to give up. But again, my biggest reservation would be that cap and, whether or not they can do the wink agreement on restructuring the contract. I'm not cool with the cap right now because, again, like I said, I believe it's plus 20 million. But one of you guys, please correct me on that. Let me see what you guys say. What do y'all say? What do y'all say about Jimmy G? Let me see. Jack Bauer says, too injury prone. I don't want him. Okay. Captain Spartan says, I really hoping no one gets Teddy so he can retire. He's been taking way too many hits, concussions, getting knocked out. Okay, you're just talking about his health. All right, cool. And I'm cool with that too, man, if you're looking out for the man's health. Why Diggy says, Jimmy G is an upgrade over Mason and Dwayne, but not at the price it would cost to trade for him. I'm with you, Diggy. I'm with you, Diggy. And more so, like I said, I don't have too much of an issue with the trade. Like if they're talking about a fourth, I'm cool with the fourth round talk. But the cap is what the question is. Mr. Winningham says he's better than Mason Rudolph because of playing time. Okay, that's a fair assessment. Jeremy Johnson says, nah. He put some emphasis on that nah if y'all look at what he said there. Jeremy Johnson also says 20 plus. See, I thought it was. That's what I thought it was. Patrick Covington says how Jimmy G played in the playoffs will determine his value in the offseason. That is a fact. And there's no guarantee that Jimmy G gets released. You got to think about it. You know, if you're the Niners, you know teams are looking for a quarterback. Maybe you hold on to him for a minute and force a trade. Cutboy says ain't worth it. Oh my God, why Diggy says the cap is 26.9. Yeah. On that note, I'm going to take a sip of water. Nah, bruh. No, sir. No, sir. Oh, and by the way, Kenyon just mentioned this too. Kenyon sent this to me earlier. Jimmy G has to have shoulder surgery this week. So, exit stage right. So that pretty much sums it up right there. But I just wanted to get you guys your feelings on it. But again, right there is all we need to know. He played decent in the playoffs. That's probably going to, raise his market a little bit. And he's got to get surgery. That's probably going to lower his market a little bit. But regardless, we're looking at 20 plus million as a cap hit for a trade. So again, if it's a trade scenario, absolutely not. If he's released and you can get him for a relatively decent contract, perhaps. But then it all depends on what this injury, how significant of an injury is that? What's the timeline? You know what I mean? Because, guys, it's March 1st, okay? Training camp will be here, before you know it. So, too many variables there. Round of applause to Steeler Lee. Appreciate the donation. Steeler Lee says, who's to say the vet QB that they signed isn't Josh Dobbs? None of us can say whether it is or isn't. But what I will say, and this is just my personal opinion, I'm just not big on Dobbs, man. I'm not. Would Dobbs be more successful in Matt Canada's offense with RPO and things like that? Perhaps. Pretty sure he would be. Again, he is still a smart guy. Pretty sure he can handle that. But we have to think about this, guys. Let me give you all a perfect example of where I'm about to go. Can the Steelers win a bunch of football games with just RPO action? With just that. RPO, zone read, and that's it. Reason why I'm saying that. Think back to when that was really successful. And again, I could be misremembering, but remember when RG3 came in the league? They was killing. RG3 and Alfred Morris. Alfred Morris is a guy I met in person. Beautiful human being, man, as far as inside in here. I'll be a fan of Alfred Morris for forever because of just being able to talk to him for a week. I met him one time when I was down at EA Sports, and he happened to be there with his wife. His wife was pregnant, and, just nice people. Good dude. But RG3 and Alfred Morris was terrorizing. What were they doing? Zone read, RPO action for the most part, play action. That was it. And it worked on most teams. Remember when they played us, though? And we shut that down? We did a phenomenal job with limiting that rushing offense. But my point is that worked then. And then slowly but surely that approach didn't work so much. Some teams tried to run a little variation of it, but it got to a point where now you can run something like that, but you got to incorporate more to it. Now let's fast forward to Lamar Jackson. Baltimore still runs that type of RPO as far as, they do run your normal RPOs from time to time, but a lot of times it's zone read. A lot of times it's Lamar, handing off or pulling it or quick pass, yada, yada, yada. But what else does Lamar do? There's times now where Lamar has to take shots down the field. Shots down the middle of the field because Mark Andrews seems to get open all the time. Shots deep down the field, outside the numbers, to Hollywood Brown and guys of that nature, and Duvernay, these type of dudes, and Bateman, right? Josh Dobbs has never really shown us that he can do that. I know Josh Dobbs sounds attractive to some people because it's like, oh man, he can run. Think about everything else. He's not going to just be able to stick with the handoff here, run it here, pull it here. No, there's going to be times where we're going to need him to pass a lot. And Josh Dobbs, again, has he had significant playing time? Maybe not. But he just never really showed us that, in my opinion, even when he's played in preseason. He had issues with that in college. Now, if he ends up getting signed, hey, I'll root for him, because he's shown what he can do with his legs. But even if you get a guy that can run the Canada offense, he will still need to be more in the mode of, let's say, like a Malik Willis. I'm not talking about running ability, but I'm saying Malik Willis also is known for being able to throw the deep ball. He still needs to work on a little bit of his accuracy. But what I'm saying is they talk about Willis's arm and his running. So if you don't have both, I'm not cool with just a guy that we can use as a running quarterback. No, thank you. But some of you guys are really high on Dobbs, man. It's always funny to see the different perspectives and opinions of the fan base, because some people hate Josh Dobbs, and then you have other people who are still campaigning for him. So, yeah, that's just my opinion on that. All right, guys, so that's the little quarterback section there, man. We still got some time to wait and see what they're going to do. Let me get to these quick hits here with Kevin Colbert, and then I'll get to some phone calls, and then the show will be wrapped up. So let me pull up my Google Doc. Give me a second. It was on my other computer. I forgot to pull it up here, but Google Docs, you can just pull it up, and there you have it. All right, so we already covered the Jimmy G news. Kevin Colbert, few notes that I had from his media, interview here at the Combine, and I'll just discuss them briefly. He referred to Haskins and Rudolph as capable NFL quarterbacks. It's interesting. Some of it could just be rhetoric, but I think it is time that we do at least pay attention to the rhetoric, right? It's different when Ben Roethlisberger was your bona fide starter, and you could say, oh, well, Rudolph has done some good things for us, and, Dwayne has done great things for us in practice, and the scout team is fine. You can say all that when you have a certified starter ahead of them. But now when you only have one quarterback under contract, the other one that you're expecting, where everyone is expecting that they put a tender on it, because, if you do the first round tender, because Dwayne Haskins was the first round pick, then boom. Right? Now, the fact that we only have those two guys that are currently in the building, you have to pay attention to what Colbert is saying, because it's a very good possibility. This is always a possibility that no one is really paying attention to. The top tier, and I wouldn't really put any of these guys in this category, but the better quarterbacks of free agency could all be gone. The better prospects in the draft could all be gone by the time we pick. It could very well get to a point where Mason Rudolph is going to have to be your starter. So with that being said, and with us being in this situation, I pay attention to those words by Kevin Colbert a little more closely than I would in the past. He also said the tackle class is very deep in this upcoming draft. And he says it's been unusually deep for the last few years, but pay attention to that. Because again, if the Steelers pass on drafting a quarterback in the first round, we got to start thinking about what other positions are they looking for, right? So he's made some mention of, more of the outside guys on the offensive line. The classes are deep. Well, interior guys, he's saying that the class isn't so deep. He also said, and once again, I put that as my own side note. Once again, he reiterated what we always say about the Pittsburgh Steelers. He reiterated that the Steelers don't necessarily, and most of the time they don't go in for it, into it looking for a position. They normally and oftentimes they draft best player available. And this is something that we've been saying so often, myself, Kenyon, others that really have followed this team and really try to, tap into the culture of that conglomerate that's together in terms of, the regime that's there, the combination of Colbert and Tomlin and whoever else, your Brandon Hunts and whoever else, Amir Khan, anybody else who makes decisions as far as personnel, scouts, yada, yada, yada. We kind of know their personality. Oftentimes, it's best player available. Just like last year. I believe it really played out like that. Yes, they wanted to improve the run game, but I think they just hit, it was a double whammy for them. Najee's sitting right there. Here's a way that you can help your run game with a guy like Najee, and he was probably the best player available at that spot. So, excuse me. There you go. Same thing with Pat Freiermuth. I know the argument is always Creed Humphrey over Freiermuth. I get it. I can see why you guys would feel that way. I wouldn't have been mad at the offensive line being touched. But Freiermuth was probably the best player available in the second round when we drafted. Based on their board. That's something that we always have to remember as fans. We're not in the building. We can like and love players until the cows come home. But that's what we think. We never have an idea what the Steelers think. So that's why I don't usually get so bent out of shape. I can sometimes be upset like, dang, I wish they would have drafted this guy. But I can't never criticize the team because the Steelers organization, we haven't really shown that we're a bad organization in terms of always missing on guys. Yeah, we've missed on guys. Every team misses on guys. But the Steelers usually find relatively decent talent, right? What's been questioned more than anything has been perhaps the first round picks. Let's say in the last 10 years, there's a couple guys you can pick out. However you felt about Bud Dupree, however you felt about Jarvis Jones, however you felt about Artie Burns. It's guys like that. But then there's your TJ Watts. There's your Ryan Shaziers. But when you get beyond the first round, the Steelers have done a pretty good job finding great talent. So that's why I never complain, because I don't know where they have a player on their board. It might not be the same guy that I would like picked at the time. So he also confirmed that it is Mike Tomlin's decision on hiring Brian Flores. He said Tomlin came to him and basically said, hey, I'm going to add this guy. And the reason why I think that's important is because, I look at some of this information as small victories for us. Because a lot of times you'll hear me say, hey, I don't know how this works. Hey, I don't know who has control here. Hey, I don't know who decision it was. So when you get this confirmation in certain areas, now I can at least say, okay, so Tomlin does kind of have the control over who the staff is going to be. See, a lot of times you've heard of myself and others say we felt like it was Art Rooney with some of these decisions, and it probably still is with certain guys. But then he also said Tomlin decides whether or not a coach comes back. So that's interesting too, as far as if you thought a certain coach was there too long or a certain coach is there too long, or Colbert said Tomlin makes that decision. So I guess we're going to say that it was Tomlin's decision not to bring back Randy Fichtner after his contract expired. It was his decision not to bring back Keith Butler after the contract expired. So that's interesting. It was his decision not to bring back Todd Haley, according to Kevin Colbert. So, judge that how you want. It's just, again, like I said, it's a victory to me whenever we can get some quote-unquote confirmed information. He also mentioned that Stephon Tuitt has expressed that he does want to play football, but at the moment there's no official word. But again, this is the second week in a row we're getting positive news about, or at least positive reports in regards to Stephon Tuitt working his way back. So again, I will welcome him back with open arms. We desperately missed him. And you go all the way back to, what was that, 2020? Or it might have been 2019. Remember that season? I think it was when Minka came, when we first got Minka. So that was a few years back. Remember how good Stephon Tuitt started off the season, man, against when we played the Niners early in that season. Y'all remember that? He was going crazy in that game. When he is healthy, and that is always the question mark. Is he going to ever play a full 17-game season now? But when that dude is healthy, he's a beast. And the last but not least, man, Kevin Colbert, they made note of the very last question in the interview that I saw today. Is he basically mentioned that we need to get more out of Zach Banner and Kevin Dotson. I was glad to hear him say that. He said, hey, they gave us contributions, more so Kevin Dotson. He said, but I acknowledge that they had injuries and all that, but, and this is his words, but they're going to need to give us more than what we got from them last season. Couldn't disagree with that at all. Couldn't disagree with that at all. We all talked up Kevin Dotson. Kevin Dotson, it's time for you to show it now. It's time for you to show it and be the guy that we all think you can be, because we've seen your moments. Last season just wasn't the greatest, and I know, usually an offensive line is a 5-man unit. You need cohesion, but Dotson, we're gonna need you to step up, and Zach Banner, you just got to get on the field and just show us, if anything, what you can do. Plain and simple. But that's all I got, man. I don't have much more than that. We have only a couple calls here, so let's take these calls and, hey, we'll get out of here. Make it a short one tonight. No need of extending the show just because, right? So first in the queue, we have Mr. Winningham, area code 803. So let's bring him in. You guys know the routine, man. Keep the phone calls nice, short, and sweet, but get as much information that you can in a short amount of time. Area code 803, Mr. Winningham, how you doing tonight, sir?
Good evening. Good evening. You was talking about guys like Zach Banner and Kevin Dotson, where earlier last year they spoke and they said that when he came in, they didn't see what they wanted to see out of him, but we didn't know what they were talking about then until the season had really started. Then when you mentioned Stephon Tuitt and Zach Banner, well, Zach Banner was a big gamble for us, and it blew up in our faces. He was supposed to have been a leading figure on that offensive line. It did not work out for whatever reason. Did not work out. Didn't see anything out of him. And then with Stephon Tuitt, what are you going to do? Guys played one season, maybe 18 games, maybe within a 3-year period. It's going to be interesting around June 1st. Will he, Zach Banner, and whoever will be a part of those cuts? Because you don't want to cut a guy just to cut a guy, but we have an opportunity to possibly get about $15 to $20 million, especially with Joe Schobert as well. And lastly, I would hate for us to draft a quarterback like a Malik Willis just because he can run. I don't want to fail a quarterback like Malik Willis. I feel that, in many ways, Baltimore has failed Lamar Jackson at quarterback. I'd rather us bring in a quarterback who can compete with Mason Rudolph, fortify the offense and defense. I don't know how you feel about maybe a J.C. Jackson or a Stephon Gilmore. But thank you so much, and everybody have a great week.
Man, thank you, Mr. Winningham. Like always, great points. One in particular I'm definitely going to talk about, and I'll touch on the Gilmore and J.C. Jackson as well. Man, you hit it on the head. The Zach Banner thing kind of blew up in our face, man. And again, it happens, guys. It's not unique to the Steelers. I know as fans, it's our team. So, you're going to have your good feedback and your negative feedback, even your nasty comments about your team. But what I'm saying is a fact. It's not just the Steelers, It happens to other teams too. But if we're speaking just about Zach Banner, he could just be one of those guys, man. Some guys, unfortunately, they suffer injuries. Who knows what it is? Zach Banner is such a big guy. Maybe maybe that plays a role. Then you have other guys who really big guys and they don't get injured. But, everybody's body is different. But the reason why Mr. Winningham said it kind of blew up on us is because, we talked about, they talked about in that previous season that it was a competition between Banner and Chooks, and either one of those guys could have been the starter. They felt like it was 1A, 1B, and they went with Banner. So in my opinion, the guy you went with, you liked better. Banner gets hurt. All right, he comes back this season, and he said that Tomlin told him, "You're gonna be my guy, and you're probably gonna be more of the veteran now, and who's gonna take that leadership role on offensive line?" He goes down again, goes on the IR temporarily, never really makes it back. He makes it back late in the season, but doesn't really get in the game other than what we saw from him when he first came to the Steelers. Number 72 is eligible. That's all he was doing. So, hey, man, this is the year that you're going to have to, or like Mr. Winningham said, man, maybe he's cut or so. Who knows? Who knows? And, yeah, man, listen, J.C. Jackson, absolutely. There's nothing to argue there. Nothing. Other than the fact that, yes, I'll take that. I like that kid. Stephon Gilmore, he's 31 years of age, but I do think Stephon Gilmore still has a couple years in his tank. Obviously, we know the relationship that he has with Brian Flores, which might make it a little more attractive to him to come there. So, yeah, listen, man, we need help in all of these areas. So if we can tackle some of that in free agency, the cornerback position with guys who have been there, done that type of guys, and we know the talent that they have, I am all for that. Instead of us trying to, take a shot in the draft. So, yeah, I'm in favor of both of those guys. I probably would, at this point, I would prefer, just because of upside, I might prefer J.C. Jackson at this stage more than Gilmore. Just because, again, same thing I said about Joe Hayden, age doesn't lose. But I'll take either one of those guys. All right, next up, area code 651. What you got for us?
What's up with you, Sam?
What's going on, man?
Not much, man. I just got a couple of things that I'll try to get through real quick. I didn't get a chance to talk about Brian Flores last week, but we all know he specializes in the front seven, and he's good at developing undrafted free agents or low-round picks to just go out there and start and bring their level up. And when you look at all the positions he's had, special teams coach, assistant offensive coach, safety, defensive one, scout, pro scout, this guy's been all over New England system. And that's why I think he's able to build a team like that. So with that said, I think if we're going to spend money in free agency, it should be on the offensive side, because we can develop guys on the other side of the ball, late round picks, draft picks, early, whatever. We can pick some guys and develop them because he knows what he's doing on that end of it. I was thinking about a guy like Cam Robinson, who early on in his career, he was up and down. He's big, he's athletic, he's figured it out. Somehow, he's figured it out, man. And if we can get him as the left side, maybe move more to the right side, if we can get Dawson back up to the level, or like we can draft another guard early, with that. I also think that there's no quarterback in the draft to start this year. And my question is there one next year that we'll be able to go up and get? Because we're not going to finish low enough to get there, especially with the addition of the coaching staff we got now. We're not going to be able to be that low to get one of those top guys, even if there are some in that draft. So you wonder, can we get one this year that can sit like a Ritter? Or, I actually like Ritter, but I know he's got some things he needs to work on, but hey, we got a year for that. So, and then one last thing. I was thinking about this thing you could do on the show, like some call it bang the table or whatever, but give callers a chance to say or bang the table for the guy that they want to explain why they want him, whether it's round by round, position by position, whatever. But just the idea, man. But thank you.
Hey man, I like that. I like that idea. And I really appreciate it because again, guys, y'all know what I always say. This our show. I'm just the guy who happens to moderate it and run it. This our show. So I'm open to any ideas. I'm one of those people, man. I feel like even if I was on TV, right? Let's say I was on ESPN or whatever. I've grown to be this ginormous YouTuber and I would still do the crowd participation. That's just me by nature. You know what I mean? I love that idea. I love you guys being like, look, this is what we want to see happen on the show. This is why we like your show, yada, yada, yada. So great idea. And I'm with that. You know, even if maybe some of the weeks, you know, we always open for calls, but we'll have a segment in the calls where we'll say, all right, guys, this is pound the table time. I'm with that. I am with that. And you guys let me know in the comments if y'all like that as well. So yeah, anything like that, man. And again, you know, if I miss your comment, guys, you can always send me an email, man. SimFBallCritic@gmail.com. And that's probably easier for me to track. But just to talk about what you said, man, listen, I'm going to give you a round of applause, man. Round of applause for all of what you said, the first two ideas. And the reason why I want to throw a round of applause is because you're taking a whole different approach, and I respect it. Listen to what you said. Listen to what he said, guys. He's looking at this coaching staff, and he's looking at the talent that Brian Flores is going to bring to the staff with him going through so many different positions while in New England, and he's trusting in the staff, trusting in Brian Flores to be able to develop guys. Think about a guy like Trey Norwood. Some of y'all wasn't, you know, some of y'all hated Trey Norwood, and I was like, I don't know why y'all. Trey Norwood made some strides. Trey Norwood has enormous potential. So thinking about that, think about what Flores could do with a guy like that. So again, instant example would be Flores being able to develop a guy in a later round. So maybe you don't have to bust your gun defensively early. I'm not mad at that because offensively, you know, not only do we definitely need help on the offensive line, but we definitely need as many pieces as possible that's going to help this offense move the ball, score the ball, especially with a new quarterback. We definitely need more help on offense because that's one of the things that we didn't really have this past season, even with Ben. And we know even with Ben, it was more so O-line. But again, bulk up that offensive line, get more weapons. And yeah, man, maybe we don't have to really go so crazy defensively because we got pieces already there, but there's little holes that we can plug. Later round guys, perhaps, free agency, perhaps. So I like that perspective. I like where you're going there. Yeah, I definitely love that idea. All right, we got one more call, man, and I guess we'll end it after that because calls are slow tonight. We got area code 973. What you got for us?
You can hear me, son?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, I got three quick questions for you, brother. I've been hearing a lot of things about Miss Trubisky as our quarterback. Okay, that's number one. I want you to answer for me. What you think about that? Number two, Brian Flores, since we signed him, can bring a lot of his ex-players like Dante Hightower. Because we need somebody to go with Bush, J.C. Jackson. And my third thing for you, I want you to answer for me. How about, Mike Tomlin been there, I think, 14 or 15 years. Mike Tomlin knows the Steelers system, the way the Rooney's run things. How about Mike Tomlin taking over for Kevin Colbert and we hire Brian Flores as a head coach? Now, I just throw it out there, see what you say, and you have a good night, brother.
All right, man. Definitely appreciate your call, and I will answer your question. I don't remember the first one. So if you could throw that in the chat. I do remember what you said about Flores bringing his guys and Tomlin taking over for Colbert. So I'll address those. And also, I'm going to come back really quick before I do that. 651 mentioned Riddler. Why do I keep putting an L in his name? It's too much Batman, I guess, right? Ritter. I like Ritter too. I told Kenyon this. Ritter's not a first round guy, but for some strange reason, I see potential in him. I like his stature. I kind of like, his style. It's something about him that I think you could develop. So if you're going to take a shot, and let's say one of those guys are gone, right? Let's say Willis, Pickett, whoever, one of those dudes that you're thinking that they like is gone at 20, hold tight. Maybe come back and get Ritter later. I'm open to that because there's something about Ritter that I think potential is there. He's not a finished product by any means right now. He has some inconsistencies. Yes, he does. But I feel like that kid can develop. So I'm with you 100% on that. Bringing Flores, bringing his guys. I haven't watched Hightower as much. I don't know if Hightower is as effective as he once was. Maybe if you pair him with Bush, maybe you get I'm not saying play style, but maybe you get a Vince Williams Bush combination where you have one guy that's older, but he's still serviceable. But again, I haven't really seen a lot of Hightower. I haven't paid a lot of attention to him, so I don't know, where his game is now. But yes, I definitely. If Brian Flores can have some influence with some of his other, older guys that he had from either Miami or New England, bring them on. Again, the two guys that come to mind to me is we've already talked about, J.C. Jackson and Stephon Gilmore. I would welcome those guys with open arms. And then again, you think about the Van Noy type of dudes and guys like that Brian Flores had a hand in helping to develop. So I definitely think we got us a steal, man, with Brian Flores. Now, as far as Tomlin taking over for Colbert and Flores becoming the head coach, in theory, I don't disagree with that, in theory. However, the biggest question is this something that Tomlin wants to do? I feel like Mike Tomlin loves being a head coach. And I feel like Mike Tomlin is almost going to be like a Bill Cowher, where when he's done, he's just going to walk away from coaching. I don't know if Tomlin would, go from, first of all, I don't know if he's ready to stop coaching. But even when that time comes, when his contract expires, I don't know if he necessarily goes into the GM role. The only thing that makes me feel like he might would want to do that is because he always talks about the process with him and Colbert around this time of the year. He really loves that, pro days and the search process. So maybe general managers in his future at some point. But I don't know. I kind of get the feeling from Tomlin that he wants to be in the grassroots, right? He wants to be right there, ground level coach. And that would be my only disagreement with that, saying that I don't see it happening, but I don't disagree with that type of transition. Flores seemed to be a great coach. Yeah, I would give him a try at head coach if there was a head coach vacancy for the Steelers. So kind of like where you're going with that one. But all right, guys, let's get into the chat. And we'll wrap this thing up here in a moment. We'll spend about 5 minutes or so in the chat, see what you guys have to say. What y'all got? Anything y'all want to throw out there? Now, I did see, hey, Miss Debbie, how you doing, Miss Debbie? Didn't see you early. I'm glad you're here. I saw that you asked what was 651's suggestion. He said, he suggested having like a segment on the show where it could be called, something to the effect of like Pound the Table, where the fans, you guys, my family, you guys come on and you pound the table for the person that you want. Like say if you had the opportunity and Kevin Colbert invited you in or what have you and said, okay, who do you want? And that's what he was saying. All right, so let's see what we got. See what we got in here. I'm back, see me, says, do you think the Giants are going to trade Saquon Barkley? Fam. Y'all know I value and respect all opinions, but what sense does it make for the Steelers to accept the trade for Saquon Barkley with Najee Harris currently at the helm? Why would they do that? From a football perspective, why would they do that? Kenyon says, Ritter is Josh Dobbs. I'm sorry. You know what, Kenyon? He might be, but I don't know what it is, man. I feel like there's something about Ritter I think that he could develop. And then Steelers Slayer says Ritter would be a second or third. That's what I'm saying. You don't definitely ain't pulling the trigger in the first round. But I don't know, man. I feel like if he's there the second, because we'd be picking a little, mid-second, I guess you would call it. Later second, I guess, because at 20, the 20th pick of the second round. And definitely third. If he's there in the third, pull the trigger. What you got to lose? I just feel like there's something there with him. I think there's something that he could possibly develop. But maybe not. Maybe not. He might be Josh Dobbs. Miss Debbie says, yeah, C. Brown. She's replying to Charlie. Says, I don't get the move Tomlin the GM role when he has not expressed interest in it. And who's to say Flores is a guy that would fit the organization and vision as the next guy? That all facts there, Debbie. That's the thing. And I think, his suggestion there was kind of like a what if thing. But yeah, if we're gonna break that down, I don't see it. We haven't necessarily seen Tomlin, like you said, show any interest in that. I mean, not to say that it isn't, but yeah, I don't see that one at the moment. What else we got? Who else? My man, Lyle McCombs. What's up, man? He says, trade up with the Eagles to get Malik. Would you? That's the only trade up I would make. I think I mentioned that a couple weeks ago, but let's paint the scenario again. The Eagles have the 16th. They picked 3 times in the first. They have the 16th and the 17th, right? The Saints, I believe, have the 18th pick. So my scenario was if Malik Willis gets past Washington, because again, there's a pretty decent amount of teams that could go quarterback and could be interested in his talents and his projection, right? If he gets past Washington, the next team I think that you worry about from a quarterback standpoint is the Saints, who's at 18. So if he gets past 11, I think it's fair to say if you want to move up to get him, you're going to move up to either that 16th or preferably the 17th pick. Keep it as close to our original pick as possible, and that's going to be cheaper. That's not going to cost you a first-round pick. I don't think so. I think you could easily do a swap and throw something else in it. Maybe next year's 4th or 3rd, something like that, right? It's not going to cost a lot to move up 3 spots. So that would be the ideal trade if you're planning to trade up for Malik Willis. Other than that, I do not want to move out of 20 to go get any of the quarterbacks. That scenario is the only one that I would accept if I was the GM, because it's not going to cost us a lot and it's worth taking a shot for 3 spots. Let's see. Jonathan Harvey says, my wish is that Brian Flores becomes head coach of the Steelers and that Mike Tomlin leaves after 2024, the end of his contract. I don't want Tomlin as GM, and I hope he doesn't decide to go that route. Okay, so you're not a fan of Mike Tomlin. That's cool. That is cool. OMG Reptar says, I'm hoping for offensive line, defense, offensive line in the first 3 rounds. Okay. I don't want to see us make any trades unless it's going backwards. Yeah, I can kind of see where you're going with that as well, OMG. And that's why I said, man, if you're going to move and you're moving for a QB, the only one that I would, feel okay about, again, is that scenario I just outlined with the Eagles. Other than that, nah, let's stay put. Carmichael, the sports guru, says Kenyon on one tonight. But yes, in the play style, he could be the next Russ. No one can honestly predict that man's trajectory. He could develop. What are you combating? What did Kenyon say that you're combating? Are you talking about the Ritter? Or Let me see. Trying to scroll up to see it. Somebody said something about Russell Wilson. Who y'all comparing to Russell Wilson? So I guess y'all can, somebody type it again to bring me up to speed, but I guess somebody is saying, oh, here it is. Carmichael says Ritter could be the next Russell Wilson. Okay. And Kenyon said Russell Wilson with the huge question mark. So yeah. Claude Bishop says the Steelers need to draft a wide receiver in the 3rd round with Juju and Washington gone. Absolutely. However, we don't know if Juju and Washington are gone yet. We don't know. I mean, it's definitely a great educated guess, but we don't know yet. But I'm with you. Either way, even if it's just one of those guys gone, we definitely need to pick us up a receiver. A speedster would be my preference. What's up, Jordan? Jordan Mid says, Kenyon, I wouldn't mind trading back and getting more picks, but we'll see. Yep. Especially, man, it all depends on what's on the board at 20. It all depends. You know, a lot of these people could drop, and then that could influence the Steelers to say, you know what? Let's trade back, maybe even further back in the 1st round to acquire another pick. So all of that is relative. Steelers Slayer says, it would be funny if the Steelers draft Ritter and Kenyon would give him a jersey number. Of course. Kenyon going to give every player that until they prove themselves. Just like Rudolph. Right now, Rudolph is number 2. He is number 2. He's number 2. Let's all say that in unison. He's number 2 to us right now. He has to earn us calling him Mason Rudolph. Heck, he even has to earn us calling him the reindeer. So, all right, a few more, guys. We got about 3 minutes left, as the timer says. I can't believe, man, we actually did this in an hour. It is possible, huh? Jay Underrated says, Sim, how would you feel if we go cornerback in the 1st like Sauce Gardner? If it's him, I ain't mad at that. If it's him. I got some work to do, though, guys. I haven't watched a bunch of corners. You know, honestly, I just haven't. But I should, right? Matthew Clark says the instrumental is giving me Turek 2 vibes. Okay. Yeah, when I did that beat, man, I was in a whole different zone, man. It's funny. I actually call it, that track is called Mile High Club. It's called Mile High Club. And the funny thing is, I actually made that beat on the plane. It was when my wife and I and my cousin, who's also my best friend, his wife, and then another set of friends of ours. At that time, they were boyfriend and girlfriend, but those 2 people are actually getting married this April. So I will call her his wife. So when we all went to Cabo, and yeah, we all went to Cabo, man, and I was on the plane getting it in. It was just a different vibe. Again, man, you know, y'all know I'm a music guy, so a lot of times energy, vibes, I might see something that will spark an idea, inspiration, and I don't know. I don't know. And some of y'all might laugh at this. Maybe because I'm sitting next to my lovely wife, it made me think about the Mile High Club. So I was just kind of in that zone, and it's kind of what it sounds like. You know, it's kind of mellow with a little bit of oomph to it. Real Fact says, I like Pickett over Willis, honestly. I love Willis' talent, but he is very raw. I feel like our offense would be gimmicky like the Ravens. That is a good point, my brother. That's a great point, Real Facts. And that's what you don't want. Charlie Brown says he thinks Stingley goes before Gardner. Possibly. Sherry. Hello, Miss Sherry. Hello. Let's give a special hello to Sherry, guys. Y'all know how we always got to big up our female listeners. I don't know if I've seen your name before. Maybe I have. But Hello, Miss Lady. Appreciate the comment. She says, Sim, you definitely have the best Steelers podcast on the net. Aw. If you say so. You know, I'm very humble, but I really thank you. I thank you for that. Because at the end of the day, if I have the best podcast for you to watch, that's all I shoot for. I don't have to be the best in the world. If I'm your best, that's my goal. This is what we do here. It's family. All right, guys, and the show is about to wrap up. Let me see, is there any other ones I can read really quick? And my man Lagoon Tours Bahamas adds on to that. I appreciate y'all, man. I love y'all to death, man. Y'all really don't know. Let me tell y'all what I did today. Let's wrap it up, and it says time to go. Let's wrap it up with a story. So, you guys know, due to the pandemic and all of that, you know, my office, I've told this story before, but some of you guys don't know this. I live in Pennsylvania. Where I live at in Pennsylvania is called York. It's not that deep in Pennsylvania. It's kind of southern side. You know, my area is kind of called Central PA. But I'm probably about an hour from Baltimore, right? And then about another hour and 25 or so to Philly. So that's why I always tell people, if you want to know where I'm located, I always say, you know where Baltimore is? Yeah, okay, go about an hour north. You know where Philly is? Okay, go south about an hour and 25 minutes. So long story short, my home base of my job is in Washington, D.C. We've been at home for 2 weeks. 2 years. Last time I had been to the office was March the 13th, 2020. Because usually I only went to the office one day a week, which was Friday. Right? And that Friday, it was announced that the entire office was going to be at home starting March 16th actually, no. I lied. I'm wrong. My last day at the office was actually March 7th. Reason being, that was a Friday, or whatever that Friday was before the 13th. The 13th, they announced that we were going to do a trial run for the entire department. So I didn't come that Friday. And then the 16th, they said it was successful. We're all going to be home until further notice. Well, this week, March 1st, 2022, was the reopening of our office. Now, the policy has changed at our job since then. The HR and all of them CEO asked how many people want to come this day, that day, yada, yada, yada. So my department, we've all agreed to come 2 days a week, and the entire department will work 3 days a week, right? From home. Now, the reason why I have to go in 2 days now, because in this 2-year time, I've actually got promoted. I became a senior manager. I have a staff. So I figured I would come in at least one extra day, because you can't connect with your people really virtually. You know, it was different when I was just doing my job. But now that I have a staff under me, I said, you know what? I will do like the rest of you all, and I will come in twice a week. And I'm sure we're going to start scaling that back soon, right? But anyway, so today, guys, I had to go to Washington, D.C. I drove there. I didn't ride the train. You know, I didn't really want to do the commute train and then the subway. I said, you know what? I'm going to just drive the whole way. 2-hour drive. Then I left and came back home. 2 more hours. And when I got home at 6:30, what time did the show start? 7:30. I am tired. I woke up. I left out of my home this morning at 6 a.m. I'm tired. Like the old Southern folks would say, I'm tired. But I love y'all. So I was not going to not do this show tonight. I was not skipping it. So that was a roundabout story for me to tell you guys how much I love y'all. It's all love. So there you go. There's my little story for today. But all right, man, listen. Y'all know the routine, man. Listen, if you haven't already, make sure, number one, if you like what you saw, if you really think this is the best show for you, show some love and hit that like button. After that, I need you to subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. If you're watching, you might as well subscribe so you know when the videos are streaming. But you also can know videos are streaming if you hit that little bell icon. Turn on your notifications, man, because at least that way you're going to get an alert and it lets you know, hey, Sim has a new video. Hey, he's live. But there you have it. But outside of that, man, I hope you guys have a great rest of the week. I'm going to get some rest these next couple days, and I go back on Friday. Our team elected to do Tuesdays and Fridays. And I know some people would say Friday, but trust me, anyone who's ever lived in the D.C., Maryland metropolitan area, the DMV, if you will, Friday is the best travel day. Trust me. So I'm cool with going on Fridays. So going to get some rest these next couple days as I work from home, and then I have to go back on Friday. But by that time, it's the weekend, right? So it's an easier commute. But other than that, man, I hope you guys have a great rest of the week. This whole pandemic, these numbers are going drastically down. So hopefully we're getting close to being out of that. And also, guys, and you know, if you're religious or spiritual, whatever it is, if you're a praying type, shoot some prayers, man, to Ukraine, man. It's a terrible situation going on right now, man. And, you know, keep your eyes open, man, because, you know, who knows what old Mr. Putin is capable of, and, you know, nuclear weapons and all that. You just never know how it could involve the U.S. So just pray for those people, man, because I can only imagine, you know, just going through something like that, just out the blue. So terrible situation. But outside of that, man, I hope you guys stay safe. God bless. And like always, I thank you for tuning in to Terrible Towel Tuesday. Until next time, peace.